Welcome back to In the Business. This week, we're joined by Steve Chadwick, a business and mindset coach who's led teams of over 400 people, helped companies scale to millions, and guided countless entrepreneurs to build calm, confident, and resilient mindsets. We spoke to Steve about mindset, leadership, and what it really takes to ensure your business not only grows, but thrives. Many people end up feeling trapped by their businesses. They reach a revenue of 500k to 3 million, but they end up feeling trapped. Can you tell us a bit about why this happens?
I find it a lot is that people use the word a lot in mindset. I have to get up and go to work. I have to run this business. I have to do this. I have to hit these targets. And they put themselves under so much mindset pressure, psychological pressure. When I talk to people, I really ask them to understand why they're doing what they're doing. And in this life, we don't have to do anything. It's much better to use I choose to. You're choosing to do what you're doing. You have the option to do lots of things in our lives. So we make the choices. So if we use an I choose to mindset rather than I have to, because that almost feels like it's burdening you before you even start. And as you go through time and you get into I was in the corporate world for 40 years. So I know that it can pressurize you, and you always feel like you're burdened. You have to answer the phone, you have to answer that email, you have to do this, and you then get the balance wrong between work and home. So I think it's really important to remember that you're choosing to do what you're doing. If you don't like the choices that you've made, choose something else. But if you are in a business that's flourishing, always remember there'll be good times and bad times, but you're making the choice. It's not that you have to.
Sure. Do you think if entrepreneurs, they start changing their words from I choose to, like you said, to I choose to, do you think that is one way they can take back control of what they're doing and their energy?
Yeah, very much so. People need to I do a lot of work with people understanding how their mind actually works and what the impact is of saying things like this to yourself on a regular basis, and how that sort of programs your subconscious. And then you believe that you are being forced to do everything in life. Nothing that you do is a result of your own choice. So for entrepreneurs, it's really about understanding that you're choosing to do this.
Yeah. Okay. So I read a LinkedIn post of yours, and it talked about this RAS, which I didn't know what it was. So I thought it'd be interesting if you could explain this to our listeners.
It's really interesting, because this is like something that's built within your mind. You when you understand what it does, you can use it to your advantage. It's called the Reticular Activating System, and it's like a little prompt for you. It filters out everything, and it highlights to you things that are of interest to you. So if you've ever wanted something like a car, normally is the analogy I'll give. You buy your first car, you decide what it is, a red car probably, or whatever it is. Suddenly you'll see them everywhere. And that's because your activating system's picked up on that and is highlighting it to you. And that happens positively for something you want. But if you start thinking something unhelpful, your activating system will also show that to you. So it's important to always remember what you program and what your interests are and what you're focusing on. If they're helpful to you on a regular basis, your activating system will help you. And the internet has already realized this ahead of us, most of us, and is already doing that through pages that you dwell on, things that things that you click on. The internet will bring those to your attention because it thinks it's what you want, and your mind has already got the most natural system for you. So once you start thinking positive things that you want for yourself, your mind will then help you and recognize that. It uses all of your senses and brings it to your attention.
Oh, so you can train it.
You can. You train it by having clear vision, clear goals, and then having that regularly. If you decide you want to do something, have a goal or a vision, but you don't really believe you can, you have doubt that you can do it, you don't really want it enough, your brain will be trained then to almost look for failure. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And it will point, if you want to lose weight or get healthy, or if you don't really believe you can do it, really believe, then your system will actually prove to you that you can't. And let you off the hook if you really don't believe you can do it.
Sure. How long do you think it takes for your brain to adapt? Because I have to say, I've tried these things in the past, like where you write down 5 things you're grateful for every morning, and then I
Yeah.
give up. How long does it actually take?
Yeah, well, it will take a little bit of time depending on how much subconsciously is within it that needs to be reprogrammed. So it could take time, but they always used to say in corporate world it takes 8 weeks to make a habit. I remember that one.
Okay.
You've got to make it so it almost becomes, when you learn to do anything, it's really important we understand how our subconscious works. It does about 98% of everything that, 98% of our mental capacity is subconscious. So you've got to program your subconscious over time to take over, so that all of these things that you want to do positive for yourself, like these affirmations and positive things about yourself, you've got to do it so it becomes almost, you don't even think about it.
Yeah. Definitely.
You don't think about brushing your teeth in the morning. You just do it. So
Yeah.
once you've got to give it time. You've got to do it regularly, and before you know it, you won't even think about it.
I think that's probably the biggest reason people fail with things like this, isn't it? It's just you don't commit for long enough.
You've got to have the two key things. You've got to believe you can do it, and you've got to desire it enough.
Yeah.
That's why most New Year's resolutions fail, because people
Gym
just say them.
up.
Oh yeah,
January,
I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Down.
Yeah, they don't believe they can, and they don't really want it enough.
Yeah, interesting. That's another thing I was reading on your website, sort of the difference between strategy and mindset. And I was wondering how important mindset is compared to strategy.
Well, I think the two are really clearly interlinked, because everybody I've lost count of the number of strategy meetings I've been in the past, the number of times I've had strategy and goals and write them down and then never look at them again. And mindset becomes a part of that. So I think if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to be really clear on what you want to do, what you do and don't want to do in your career. You've got to then have a strategy that encompasses everything that you really want. And then your mindset has got to be around how you're going to do that and making it part of everything that you do. And strategy, again, has got to be something that you don't just look at every 6 months or a year, or when it's needed to. You've got to make it part of everything that you do all the time. So strategy has got to be alive and around you, because that also programs your mind. Looking at seeing something around you regularly without you even realizing it programs it into your subconscious. And some of the things that you want to do, you've got to be so visible to you all the time.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And the other key thing is to make sure that if you want success or goals for yourself, it's again not about writing them down. We all do that. We write things down and we think about it for a bit, and then we maybe put them away. You don't just write goals down. You do two parts. You write them down, of course, when and where and what. But probably the most important part, which I talk to them about, is the second part, which is actually visualizing the goals that you've got. It's not just about what they are. You've got to visualize yourself going through the process to achieve them, because every step you achieve a goal, your brain, without you even realizing, rewards you. Because if you do an easy win, your brain rewards you naturally. So you've got your goal, you've broken it down into parts. You're not just thinking about the goal, you're thinking about how it would feel to get to it. And you're thinking really clearly about what it means to achieve the goal.
Have you heard of Tony Robbins? Because he does that every morning. He says he primes himself and he's like, I'm going to think about the goal, but actually feel it and feel what it'd feel like to embody it.
You've got to. It's very common in business. It's very common in sports psychology as well. They are thinking about the end result. They are imagining, all they're thinking about is the success. They're thinking about the achievement of something, how it will feel, how they will feel, how people around them will feel. And that all builds into your subconscious. Yeah. And of course, the thing about the subconscious, you probably know this, is that it doesn't know, it can't do a don't. So if you think negatively about anything, your subconscious picks up on it. So, what's the one I use? Penalty takers. If they think for a second they're going to miss, what if I miss? Your subconscious will latch onto that. So the good sportsman only think about the success, only one single thought in their mind.
Interesting. Really interesting.
Part of your work is working with business owners
Yeah.
and sort of trying to cultivate the skills. So
Yeah.
like improve their skills. Now, what's the biggest thing that stops people from being the best leader they could be themselves?
What's the one thing that stops them? I think for a lot of young entrepreneurs, it's making sure they're really clear. First of all, be really clear on what they want to do. Be clear on what they do and don't want to do. Be aware that they're in control of their thoughts. You choose how you react to circumstances and situations. It's your thoughts. It's not the circumstances. Two people can be in the same situation in business, but can react differently and have different behaviors and emotions because of the way they think about it. So there's clarity, and it's to make sure that they understand. Be clear. I always say as well, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You go through life. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, and don't have regrets. Make mistakes. Most successful business people in this world have made countless
loads of mistakes.
You're only aware mostly of the successes that they've had.
And that's why they've got to the place they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they will then openly tell you about the mistakes they've made, the risks they've taken, how they've learned from their mistakes. Of course, the key thing is to learn from the mistakes that have been made. But they've gone through real rough rides and made mistakes, but have learned from them. So be clear on what you want to do. Be clear on what you want and don't want from your life and what you do. Don't get to the stage where you have a regret and wish you'd taken an opportunity. Don't do that at any stage. And then you're master of your own destiny.
Yeah. Well, what are some of the mistakes that you've made personally?
Oh, countless one.
Let's put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting because 40 years is a long time, okay? I didn't have the internet or mobile phones or anything, and that sounds like a bit ridiculous, but it's true. I suppose that the advice I give to myself now is be open. We never used to say we were stressed back in those days. We never used to say we had an issue with our mental health. And I think now we're in a much better space so we can talk openly about how we're feeling. It's not a weakness to say you're struggling or you're not sure. You've got people around you that will help you. So I think now is a much better culture for people to sort of reach their potential. So the advice to me now would be, talk to people. Don't feel that you're a slave to the corporate world. Be in control. And I wish I understood then how my mind works. The internet is wonderful for a number of reasons. One of the great ones is, as you know, because you were already researching and knowing stuff, is that there's so much stuff out there to help us. In terms of how you're thinking and positivity and you're managing your mental health, there's much more stuff out there. If I wanted to find that out, I had to talk to somebody or go to the library. Now you can find out with a click. So be open.
Much easier.
Yeah, be open. Talk to. It's not a weakness to want to talk about how you're feeling. That's my
it's a strength.
Yeah, that's my And dealing with stress is the same way. Talk about it openly. Be clear on what you're doing. Talk to others. Don't feel it's a weakness to be feeling stress.
Sure.
Yeah. And when it sort of comes to all these things, and let's say you're managing a team and you're trying to get the absolute best out of that team, what sort of defines a great leader?
I think a great leader's got to be open, has got to be honest, has got to be clear on the vision, has got to communicate that, has got to have a strategy that involves everybody. I was always told back in the day, you're a leader's on a stage all the time. Every behavior, everything that they say will be seen by somebody. So you've got to be role modeling the desired behavior. You've got to understand your people. You've got to be as clear and wanting them to develop as much as yourself. And you've got to always remember that you can't succeed without a team around you that are aligned with what you want. You can't do it on your own.
Great.
And when you get later on, when you get through your management career and your business career, look back and think, how many people have I positively impacted in their lives and their careers? How many people would say to me, thanks for what you did and you helped me then and you've developed me? Count them up.
Sure.
That's the true measure of what I would believe a leader will be, is someone that you would say, tell me about somebody that's helped you or you respect.
Yeah.
And I would always
Yeah.
hope that my name would be mentioned, you know?
Yeah.
When it comes to your career, now you've led teams of pretty big people,
Yeah.
about 400-ish people plus.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
do you make sure that every employee in that team believes in the mission and the vision of the company?
Well, I think it's not to sit in your office and then produce it and give it out. Is to involve everybody, make them feel part of the decision-making process. Like I say, don't just put it in a filing cabinet and look at it again in 12 months or 6 months, or look at it when it goes wrong. That's what we tend to do.
Yeah.
Something's gone wrong. Look at it, review it when it goes well as well. Recognize, because we then we dwell on failure and mistakes when we can also celebrate progress and success. So share it with everybody. And never underestimate, as a leader and a manager of large teams, the impact you have with interaction with people and caring about them and asking them about them and giving them a little bit of your time. You can really never underestimate the little differences that somebody will say, I remember when you.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
might not even remember it yourself, but I remember when you actually asked me how I was and really meant it. And I was going through a tough time and you helped me. And it may seem insignificant to you at the time, but they will never
The little
forget
things adds up. Yeah.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Same as when you ignore someone or you say how are you and don't even listen to the response. That happens a lot because we just do it as a ritual. Do we really care how they are? But you will all know about people who actually you feel that they're interested in you, and that's when you get a great team.
Great.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's sort of more, rather than just saying, how are you? I'm good. How are you? It's more that sort of connectivity between in the conversation.
Of course.
You know?
I used to say it, but I didn't. I learned my lesson. Is when you say my door is always open. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like it's an invitation, but it isn't really. No.
Yeah.
My doors are always open. What does that mean? So
where's that going? Yeah.
rephrase that one and make sure that you are open and are with your teams and make sure it's not a policy that I'm here, I'm there if you need me. And again, that's another classic. What does that mean?
Yeah,
that puts pressure on puts pressure on the other person as to, oh God, well, it's going to have to be pretty serious. But that also words I don't like to hear, because I'm here if you need me. Yeah, you can be more supportive than that sometimes.
Yeah.
What sort of things would you rephrase it to? Like, what are some of the things that you use which are more inviting?
I would say be a bit more personal. Take an interest in something and make sure it feels more personal so that they feel able to talk to you about more subjects. Take an interest in them. I would, I'm with you. I'm here. I'm always here for you. Try and make it a little bit more sort of modern in thinking, really.
Yeah.
It's all about empathizing with them and gaining respect. So you've got to gain respect through doing all the right things, And if you get things wrong or there's tough decisions to be had, do it in a professional, respectful way, so that these things will also happen in life. Business can be tough. So have open, honest conversations, will gain respect.
Now, we touched on this before. You mentioned that for a leader, you sort of give your employees a bit more responsibility in decision making, etc., and involve them. But I feel like a lot of people would struggle to sort of give that away and let go of that control to some extent. So how would what would you suggest to someone that's struggling to sort of delegate stuff off?
Yeah, I think delegation is another sign that someone is thinking they need to be in control and do everything, and that's what generally tends to lead to burnout when they don't trust anyone to do something enough, and it's not a positive thing for the person, and it's also not a positive thing for the team around them. So if anyone's going to be a leader or a manager or a developer of people, they have got to develop people through delegation. And delegation just doesn't mean just to give them a task. It's got to be coach them through it, and then they will learn it. And it's good for their development, and it's then great for the founder or the manager, because they can then, again, subconsciously they start to trust their team, and it releases them to do more of the stuff, more positive stuff to look further forward. And they're not far.
I guess you get to work on your business, not necessarily in your business.
Correct. But that's not a weakness. People will suddenly think that's a weakness. It's not, because burnt out business leaders are sometimes, not always, sometimes the ones who just will not let anything go and seem to see it as a strength. I went through a culture where I thought it was clever to devote myself 24/7, that I could answer a phone any time of the day, that I would drop everything and do what I thought was best. But in actual fact, it's not a strength. It's showing that you can't develop others and manage yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think almost at the start, though, that's maybe needed when you don't have that team? You sort of need to be that, and then you sort of transition over.
Of course. Even as a solopreneur, and there's lots of them out there, of small businesses. They've got to use the same principles. They've got to manage. They've got to understand how they're working and how their mind works. They've got to understand what they really want from their business, whatever it may be, and they've got to do it in a way, and then get support. I was at a networking this morning, and for small and medium enterprises, there is so much support out there in terms of businesses at low cost that give support, and otherwise you feel like you're on your own. And it's probably even worse now. Not worse, but people are now working from home more and not even seeing their colleagues that they either working with or small teams. So you're not on your own. And networking is really important for business owners as well. You may not always like it, but most decisions, some people don't.
You never know when a connection comes back as something useful to you, do you?
Yeah, because I'm really keen. I've enjoyed networking more now because I understand a couple of things. Most opportunities, without you even realizing, are not going to come through social media or through LinkedIn. They're going to come from somebody you bump into or you talk to, or who knows someone else face to face. One thing. Yeah. And the second thing is, you go to networking not to find not to take, to sell, or you'll do a bit of that, but it's also about what you can give.
Yeah.
Because you go to networking and it's almost around, how can I help you as well as you can help me? And that's what networking should be about.
Yeah.
And in most cases, opportunities for either building businesses or changing career have come about through face-to-face stuff.
That's interesting, because a lot of our previous guests, they've said a similar thing. And I feel like people are starting to realize that in the age of social media, in-person connection is really important.
Yeah, it is. That's why I still love face-to-face meetings if I can. It's not always possible. And this is amazing to have even these, Zoom and everything else, all the other vehicles that we have are great, but it's still face-to-face that's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like COVID has normalized that non-face-to-face and the Zoom and online. How do you think that sort of shifted and affected the mindset of people?
Well, I think, because I remember how quickly that developed during COVID, and it helped us. It really did help us at the time because we were able to do things and talk together. But people we're a tribal species. Okay, we feed off being together. We feed off talking to each other. We have virtual coffees, but they're not the same thing. We need to be together. And when I'm at networking and I see people actually connecting, they're not just selling the product that they've got trying to sell the product they've got, but actually connecting, understanding other people's challenges, not just their own, and listening. I think it makes you then reflect, and it makes you then make positive connections. You must always, my theory, always come away from networking with at least 2 or 3 new contacts that you've made.
Yeah.
Every time.
Building on networking, let's talk a bit about confidence. So for young business owners, say they're 20, that is terrifying. How do you feel confident enough to get in the room and feel like you belong there?
I think it's not easy, but you've almost got to bite the bullet and do it. You've got to remember, always think about, right, you can start off just by being sociable and just introducing yourself, and then let the conversation grow. But always remember, I'll go back to that. It's not what you can take, it's what you can give. So there's always, if somebody's talking about listen to people, make sure that you listen as much as you talk about yourself. Always give opportunities for other people to talk, but always look to see how you can then enrich that conversation by what you can also, people that you might know or experiences that you've had. Yeah. So get the balance right, and go to it with an open mind, and even if you keep doing it.
Yeah, dive in the deep end.
You've got to keep doing it, and every time you go, you'll find you'll either build your network, and you'll find new connections. And the great thing about the life we live in now is that we can connect then with people after a networking meeting, and that builds that relationship on.
Yeah. There's another thing I saw. So when I was looking at your website, I saw your bit about confidence. I was wondering if it comes from actually achieving things or accepting yourself. Which one do you think is more important?
Well, that's a good question. I think a bit of both. I think confidence comes from knowing what you're about. Be confident in who you are and what you're about, and being honest and having integrity. I think that's really important.
Okay.
Confidence comes from that. If you don't sort of believe in yourself, you don't know what your strengths are, you don't know what you're really clear on what you're good at, then you won't have confidence. We're in a cycle where we worry too much about what other people think, what other people may say, and then we get into a spiral of, that's a bit like imposter syndrome, isn't it? Where you constantly thinking that they're going to see I'm not quite as good as I think I am. And imposter syndrome is that where you haven't got the confidence then to know I am. I'm good enough. Just because I'm young or old, I can bring something to this conversation. I'm confident about who I am. I've got something relevant to say, instead of thinking, I'm not. They're going to realise in a minute that I don't know what I'm talking about, when in actual fact you do. And be confident in what you're saying.
Yeah, sure. Just to start wrapping up the conversation, if there's a belief that you see across every thriving entrepreneur, what would you say it is?
What
belief system? Yeah, or behaviour?
I think it's really for an entrepreneurial behaviour, it's about believing what they are, believing in themselves, and believing in their business. And the behaviour is openness and understanding. It's okay not to be okay, and to talk openly about it. Understand why you're thinking the way you are and feeling the way you are, and try and find positive ways to impact that. And there's so much resource out there and support out there for business owners, not just from there's a lot for technical in terms of compliance and support, but there's also a lot of mindset stuff out there for business owners that be able to talk about it and have a positive discussion. And I talk to a lot of business owners that another thing that business owners do, they don't give themselves enough time to think about where they are and where they're going. They don't give themselves, when I say we'll have a couple of hours, they're like, on my phone, my phone will go off. They don't give themselves enough time to reflect on where they are and where they're going. Quite often, they're not firefighting is probably the wrong word, but it is a form of firefighting where they're just reacting to everything and not giving themselves enough time to about themselves, where they want to go, what they want to do, and what that looks like.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been really interesting to talk. We just want to try a quick fire round. So is there one book or podcast that you'd recommend to people listening?
Well, of course, my podcast, which is on the Start, Build, Grow website, is brilliant because it's for Suffolk-based businesses, but it's for anybody. And that's about 20 coaches giving hour-long podcasts on really fantastic subject.
If you had to give one piece of advice to your 20-year-old self, what would that advice be?
Don't have regrets. Don't get to my age and then wish you'd done something. So don't have regrets. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. And don't be afraid to talk to somebody and be honest about how you are feeling and take advice. It's not a weakness to talk to others and ask for support, both in business and personal. That's what I would say. And yeah.
What's one daily practice that instantly helps you reset or refocus?
I have a list of things that I'm grateful for. Right, in my little journal, right? And when I'm having a bad day or I know I'm drifting into, because what we do, we get in spirals and we get into a spiral of thinking in a negative way. When I've had a bad day, I go and read some of the things that I'm grateful for.
Great. Thank you so much for talking to us today. It's been really, really interesting. Thanks for listening to another episode of In the Business. Harrison, kick us off and tell us what you thought about that one.
I thought that it was quite interesting to look at the mindset of things rather than just focusing on the company side of things. I thought that was quite an interesting, different look on things. I said on things like 8 times.
It's on things.
On things,
about
yeah,
things,
on things.
Yeah?
But I do think it's interesting, and it's also important to look at these other sides of things, because I said it again.
on business.
On business.
What things? Bananas? That's what the music
because
teacher said.
I do feel like, you can constantly look at one side of business, but it's very important to look at other sides as well. And I think that episode definitely did explore that other side of stuff. Todd, what did you think yourself?
No, you're right. It was interesting to see the relationship between success and the mindset that's behind it. And a lot of times it's as simple as building that habit. Stick with it. Say, I'm going to change the way I speak to I choose to do this for 8 weeks, or do it 100 times. Because a lot of the time you start it for 5 days and you give up, don't you? I've done that many times. I'm
true.
I'm going to be a grateful person for the next few days, and then I'll give up.
So you're an ungrateful person.
I'm very grateful, but you gotta stick to it, haven't you? Especially the mindset, because habits, they take a long time to build. But once you build them, you don't think about them.
Well, they're just it's like having a shower. Do you know what I mean? It is just what you do. You don't really think about.
That's a struggle for you, Harrison. I know. No, it's really interesting, and thanks, Steve, for coming on the show. I hope you learned something, and I hope you can apply what he said to your own business. And remember to rate the show,
like, subscribe, comment,
all this stuff. Thanks a lot for joining us, and see you at the next one.
See you next time.